Where you at, my friends? We are back at it. This time it's the NFC East. We are moving on. Dallas Cowboys team preview here on bet.noel.com, powered by the Datitude Podcast. I am Jim Derry, and moving on to Dallas, they're called America's team, but they're really the team that America loves to hate more often than not. You either love the Cowboys or you hate the Cowboys. That's why making an over-under pick or beyond on the Cowboys is tough because you have to leave your feelings out of it, right? That's easier said than done. Now, Coach Mike McCarthy coming back, there's already rumors that Sean Payton could take over this team, maybe a little trade in the works at the end of the season if things don't go exactly the way that Jerry Jones wants them to go. We'll see. I'm going to get into my predictions in a minute, but what is different about this Dallas team? Well, they have certainly lost a couple of their key players. Namely, they've lost Amari Cooper, their top wide receiver, arguably from last season. Now, is that going to make a big difference? They also lost a big piece of their offensive line puzzle in Lyle Collins. Is that going to make a difference? They bring in Tyler Smith, first-round draft pick, onto their O-line. Jerry Jones loves this kid. He was thrilled that they were able to get him and maybe get him. They thought he would be gone by the time that they picked, but he wasn't. He was there, ready to pick. Dallas is all about how well their offense is going to gel. They were good last year, both on offense and defense. We know Trayvon Diggs on the defensive side of the football and Micah Parsons were absolute studs along with DeMarcus Lawrence. They're all back. So we expect the Dallas defense to be pretty darn good as they were last year, maybe on the way to that 12-5 record. So what about this offense? Now, if you watched last year, you're worried a little bit about Ezekiel Elliott, right? Is he getting a little bit long in the tooth? He's had some injury issues. He's done okay, but he did not look like the Ezekiel Elliott of old. But there's Tony Pollard, who took a lot of his carries last year, filled in when Elliott was hurt, and Tony Pollard is certainly going to be a big part of this offense this season. But what about Dak Prescott? Everything comes down to him. He rebounded from that injury season of 2020, came back in 2021, and looked pretty darn good. Now, one thing you need to know about this Dallas team with an over-under of 10.5, that's pretty high. It's higher than their total last year of 9.5. So, obviously, expectations on the Cowboys are a lot different than they were going into last year. This team is now expected to be a playoff team, unlike last year. We don't know what's going to happen in this division. It's really kind of an interesting division, and I'm looking forward to getting along as we go, and I'm looking forward to hearing from our expert, Adam Chernoff, on whether he agrees with me or not. But you talk about the Dallas Cowboys schedule. What are the parts of this schedule that they can find a way to make a move? There are spots in the schedule where not only are back-to-back wins likely, but they could have some win streaks going on. They got week 3. They're making a trip to the Meadowlands to face the Giants, a team that we're going to get to tomorrow. I think is much improved before a home game against Washington. Also, they're going to host Detroit and Chicago in consecutive weeks at the end of October before their bye. Then from Thanksgiving until the week before Christmas, Giants, Indianapolis, Houston, 3 straight home games before a trip to Jacksonville. So there are some places in this schedule where they have the potential to make a move. The 29th toughest schedule in the NFL, which means it isn't very tough. I mean, all NFL schedules are tough, right? But this one, according to the other ones, according to the rankings based off of last year's schedule, this one's about as easy as they come. Now, where are some potential pitfalls for this Dallas Cowboy team? We look at the schedule again. Second consecutive season, the Cowboys are opening up with Tampa Bay in primetime. This time, they're doing it on a Sunday night instead of a Thursday night. That's an interesting game as well. They have multiple back-to-back games where they certainly will be favored, but they have quite a few danger zones. Weeks 5 and 6 at the Rams, at the Eagles, and then, at the Rams against the Eagles, and then in weeks 10 and 11 at Green Bay and then playing Minnesota. I think Minnesota is going to be better than they've been. So this could be a tough set. And then Christmas Eve game at home against Philly for traveling on a short rest the following Thursday. They play Tennessee, and we know the Titans have been the class of the AFC South for a while the they'll be again. You're going to have to wait a few weeks on that, on what we think about Tennessee. Obviously, they're going to have some competition with Indianapolis. But these Dallas Cowboys, it comes down to me to health. If Dak can stay healthy, if Zeke can look anything like he did before 2021, because he didn't look very good last year, Tony Pollard can fill up the roles, fill up the holes where Zeke just couldn't get it done. Dallas will be okay. They've got a nice rookie receiver. They got Jalen Tolbert of South Alabama, a second-round pick. He's a speedster. He could come in. Another player that they were shocked to get where they were able to get him. So they've got some decent rookies. I wouldn't say they had a fantastic draft class, but it certainly wasn't bad. Dallas Cowboys, 10.5. Over, you're getting plus 125 on the over. If you want to bet the under, if you don't think the Cowboys are going to be any good, you got to take minus 145. There's no value there, even if you like the under. So my plans with the Dallas Cowboys is to play the over. I actually think I'm going to play this, not big, but I think there's value there. I still think Dallas is the class of this division. I do think they're going to get a challenge from one of the teams we're going to talk about later in the week. I'm not going to give it away here, but I think that they're going to have a challenge. I don't love their division odds. I do think there's value Super Bowl at plus 1,800 because if they get the right draw and Dallas gets rolling towards the end of the season, if they can beat some of these tough teams at the end of the season, give them confidence, get a really good draw, I think Dallas could really be a value at plus 1,800. And if they do as well as I think they're going to do, you're not going to get them for a value later on. Let's see what the expert thinks as we do at the end of each team preview segment. Getting to the NFC East, getting predictions. Adam Chernoff of Covers.com is going to tell me whether he thinks I'm right, whether he thinks I'm wrong, whether he just wants to stay out of the fray. Adam, welcome in. And the Dallas Cowboys is our Tuesday predictor here. And, look, the Cowboys have the easiest schedule, one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. The whole NFC East does, really. And if you look at it, over 10.5 wins, I think this is a chance for value here. I know Dallas is not really America's favorite team. They might be America's team, but not America's favorite team. I like the over here. What say you?
Jim, I think it's the first disagreement of the entire series. I would go under. Very tough to look over here. I think there's a lot that could potentially go wrong for Dallas. Lost some key pieces on both the offense and defensive line. You're not with Amari Cooper any longer. Michael Gallup still has the injury. A lot of pressure on Prescott within the contract year. We're seeing also head coaching, offensive coordinator positions filled with uncertainty. They got a lot of turnover luck a year ago, benefited from a lot of big plays that really sort of disguised just how weak overall this secondary is. I know you mentioned the easy schedule, but at such a premium price, I'm very tempted here to go under, but also sell the Cowboys a lot on a week-to-week basis, as I think they're just priced too high. So I'll be on the other side here. I'm going to be opposing Dallas quite a bit this year.
There you go. The amateur likes Dallas. The professional doesn't like Dallas. So you make the decision. Pretty easy one. We'll see you tomorrow when we talk about the New York Football Giants.